know the joke about the pirates? What's a pirate's favorite element?
Booty.
Yeah.
Well, you're supposed to say argon.
Oh, that's nice.
And then I say,
Arr.
you'd think it'd be argon, but it's actually the element of surprise.
You thought we were like smart. That's funny.
Yeah,
I
somehow,
said booty.
Yeah.
The Ukulele Review Podcast. All right. Welcome, Abe. Thank you for coming and being with us tonight.
Thank you for having me.
And I know it's been a kind of a long day for you, huh? What'd you do today?
This morning I flew out to Kauai, and I hung out with Aldrine and the Ukulele Underground crew. Not before driving up to the Waimea Canyon Lookout and all the stops along the way.
Oh, that
It was
is
pretty nice.
epic.
There was nobody out there. It was like before 7. And then, of course, as I was coming down, all the cars started coming up. But, yeah, it was nice. Just when the sun was hitting all those ridges, and then at the very top, it started to rain like it does. So,
Have you ever gone to Kauai over there?
yeah. Well,
That
I
is
went
just-
through Kauai State Park, and then some of the lookouts in there. It was nice.
It's gorgeous,
It's
right?
amazing, yeah.
It's like the Hawaii version of like a Grand Canyon-ish
Mhm.
kind of thing.
Yeah, somebody says that, right? The Grand Canyon of the Pacific?
I guess so.
Mark Twain, maybe?
I mean, it's got its own look. It's
Yeah.
definitely not that deserty Grand Canyon look, but
Mhm.
it's got the real deep valleys and
Yeah, and
the
that red
ridges.
dirt.
Mm.
I
When you're
saw them
up
trying to
there-
wash it off the road in one spot.
When you're up there, you realize how big. Wow, Kauai is actually really big. Like you realize how big the mountains are and
hmm
how high you really
It's
are.
like 20% bigger than here, right?
I don't know. It was like over 5,000 feet, though,
Wow.
where I got to. So I don't know. Or at least the sign I was next to said, this way, 5,000. I know I made it above 3,500 because I saw the koa trees, so I think that's the elevation, right?
Yeah.
Above that.
It's pretty cool being that close to the ocean, though. Getting that, high.
Yeah, definitely. It was really cool seeing Nihao and trying to remember the story behind that. It's pretty cool. There's like 200 people there. They speak Hawaiian as their first language, and you're not allowed to go unless you have a special permit or
Only
something.
200?
Well, that's
I'm not
according to
sure.
a sign that was falling apart.
Oh,
So I don't know.
maybe the
Um,
population grew.
Yeah, maybe.
I forgot to add zeros at the end. It's 2,000.
Oh, nah, there's not many people there.
I know there's not many, but I don't know how many.
You have to get invited, I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's owned by the
Robinson.
That's what it
Robinson
was.
family.
hmm
Yeah.
Yeah. I was really fascinated with that before coming. I tend to like just look at maps. That's one of my hobbies. So, just looking at maps of Hawaii, then I saw Nihao and I was like, what's that?
You ever just go on the 3D Google Earth and just explore?
Do you mean like the street view, right? Somehow it's not so interesting to me.
They had a different version before. It almost felt like a video game. It was like you were going into like a simulation, but it wasn't like the Google online one. It was like a program you had to download.
Oh.
But it even had
Oh,
like,
Google Earth?
Google Earth, you're right.
yeah, maybe that was it.
I don't know if that one did like flying through this. I'm imagining like a video game where you fly through the cities.
I think I tried to do it.
I usually do Google Earth to places that I want to go and be like, yep, I've been there before.
Yeah.
Through
I just do
Technology.
the Airbnb. Like, I'll just go onto Airbnb and then I'll just look at suggestions and they'll show me like some place in like Italy or France or Australia or, just dope places to like get and just kind of fantasize about.
It's like, all right, I got my fill.
No.
lock the door, close the window,
no, I know.
close the
I
shades.
I know what
pretend
that would be
book,
like now.
Open
Like-
Zillow.com. $2 million.
I can imagine waking up in this house. I realized actually before coming here that people sell experiences on Airbnb. Like, let's walk through a farm and
Yeah.
pick fruits. And I was like, what? Just
You
a
trying
random person.
Trying to get me to work for you?
Yeah. I don't know exactly what they are, but it's like, you can guide someone on a hiking trail and then provide
Wow.
Hawaiian snacks. And then it's like $40 a person or something.
Right.
Groups of 8. It's like, that sounds like a pretty
Nah.
good gig.
Should sell like pineapple picking
Yeah.
experiences.
Probably.
And
I
then
mean,
everyone's gonna realize how much picking pineapples suck.
That's one of the warm-ups, right, for baseball.
There you
Pineapple
go.
pickers.
Yeah, right?
Pickers.
wow, I didn't know that. How do you pick a
Man,
pineapple.
my back hurts just thinking about it.
Oh,
It's
It's-
the worst. Even the Hawaiians didn't want to do that. They're like, get the hell out of here. Sugar cane,
Where did pineapple
whacking,
come from?
pineapple picking.
I don't know, South America.
I forget. There's a crazy story about Dole did this air race. I forget what year it was, but from like California to here, and it was like whoever could make it here, but the navigation was really off. Like it was kind of bad. A bunch of people crashed and never made it. And
Jeez. Sounds like that race in Oklahoma where they're like have a starting line. It's like go
it's
whatever land you.
exactly. It was like that. Yeah.
If you land on Hawaii, you get it.
It's like, but if you don't,
Oh well.
Uh,
So Abe has a podcast, an ukulele podcast,
mm-hmm.
which is one of the reasons we're talking to you now. So what's that called? And tell
So
them.
it's called Abe's Ukulele Podcast. Very creative name. I love listening to podcasts. So at a certain point, partially inspired by Stuart Yoshida, he does another podcast. I thought we need more podcasts, and then I love this podcast too. So I thought I love podcasts, but somehow I want one that's like a little shorter. Even though I love this one and Uketown because of my
it was
time.
Oaktown. I was like,
right?
I listened to that.
It's like I like 30 minutes at a time. So whenever I get an hour, I'll listen to an ukulele podcast that's an hour long.
Mhm.
But I felt like I wanted, at least for myself, I wanted something that focuses in a little bit more on things that teachers and players really care about, because that's what I am. I'm a teacher and a player. I teach primarily K through 8, mostly just ukulele, and then I'm also a musician, so I try to make my own music.
Where, what city are you in?
I'm in Bridgeport, Connecticut. So it's like right on the beautiful brown water of the Long Island Sound. But yeah, it's where was I going? I don't know. I started talking about brown water.
Brown water.
Sorry, the podcast
So you're like
is
I mean, you're teaching kids individually or in groups or
in classes. I do private lessons also, but most of my time is teaching classrooms full of kids. And at
so this is like public education.
No, it's a private school.
Private school,
where
okay.
I teach, there's maybe 60 kids in the school. It's in an inner city, so it's actually not a rich private school. And my classes are nice because it's like maybe 10 to 15 kids, and I'm the only music teacher, so the whole music department is me, which is awesome. So slowly over the years, maybe it took like 1 year for me to realize, actually, I think ukulele is really perfect for teaching the kids music literacy. And then I did the James Hill ukulele teacher training, like all 3 levels.
Oh, that's
And
awesome.
I'm going to that right after my trip here.
See,
and,
we need more of you spawning the next generation players. Do you see them coming up? I mean, do you spot out those certain ones? You're like, this one's
Yeah, some of
Potential.
them. Sometimes a lot of my students tend to just like strumming, or they don't want to play ukulele, they want to play something else. But right now we don't have the capabilities of teaching. Like I can't teach a bunch of kids piano because we have 1 piano, or I can't play trumpet or violin, things like that. But what I really liked about James Hill's method is it teaches reading music with the ukulele. So I'm trying to get my kids also to read music, and then we can play Bach. We can play like Guatemalan music and all sorts of other stuff, like
Beautiful.
American folk music. And then
It
I
also
tend
gives
to
you reason to continue to research and learn about all those things, right?
Yeah,
That's one of the
exactly.
things you're like, I got to keep learning about these
Mhm.
different types of music and cultures and stuff to be able to share that.
Yeah.
But doing it through the ukulele just makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Size-wise for kids too,
Mhm.
but also for a school that's looking to invest in something that like a dozen or more people can be playing at once. It's like piano automatically out of the question,
Mhm.
right? And I mean, the orchestral thing is kind of done, and it's been done, and it'll continue to be done. But
Yeah.
it's like the ukulele. It's like you can automatically connect with like pop music and things that are a
Mhm.
little bit more attainable with a few chords,
Yeah, you can do like so much. It's amazing. Even when you have a room full of people, it's like everybody's strumming the same thing. It's still not that overpowering. Whereas if you have a room full of recorders, I don't know if you guys know that
Yeah.
sound.
Mm.
I tried teaching recorders for a while. I don't know if it was my limitations, but it did not go
That's
well.
the
It was
other one, though.
it was the insanity settling in.
Yeah, I mean, like I always say this, but it's like when you mess up on the recorder, your parents get mad at you. When you mess up on the ukulele, it's like no one cares. Just try again. It's like I can't do it. Okay, It's fine. Just try again. You know, music should be fun, not torture.
It's a little less
It's
harsh.
true.
Just hit the wrong fret rather than.
Yeah, and I don't like hating on recorders, but you know, because they have their place. It's good to build up into something, but yeah, just the being able to sing while you're playing also, and of course the portability. I've had students. I started to teach them guitar because I'm originally a guitar player. I don't really play much anymore, but they give up because their fingers hurt so much. The steel strings are just killer. And even on like a classical guitar, the neck's wider, so it's just
Yeah.
you know, you have to get the small size, and then it's like, well, just, you know,
It's
get an
way
ukulele.
more physical
Yeah.
for especially young people.
Mhm.
But even for a lot of adults that haven't been playing music, they jump into it and it's just like guitar is like, man, I can't even get my fingers down all together. And
Yeah.
uke is like accessible, but
Mhm.
also like you were saying, you can sing and play. Like I'll just hear my daughter singing and playing in her room now, you know,
Mhm.
and that's something that you can't do with, you know, anything that's wind
Yeah.
based instrument. And you can make chords, you can make melodies. It's kind of like you can do everything with it.
Yeah.
The raw basics of music, you know.
Mhm. I think it's pretty perfect for learning music. So anyway, that's why I'm doing that at my school. And then I think I went off track, but somehow all this experience led me to want to start my own podcast. So I started researching how to podcast, and then in August 2017, I interviewed James Hill, and then all these other people followed. Usually it's an interview, but I tend to say it's not always an interview, but it's usually always an interview. An interview with some good player or some good teacher, and I just try to get into like, what do they care about as a teacher? Do they have good tips and tricks? It's hard to say, like, you know, just with audio, like put your second finger on the. So it's not like a necessarily.
Yeah, that's
a
why I
learning
wasn't even
podcast.
putting my stuff on like the Apple Podcast for a
Mhm.
while, because a lot of the stuff it just seemed like it wasn't translating,
Mm-hmm.
and it had to be a little bit more visual. But
Yeah.
then at the same time, I see where the need is because I'm still driving and listening to podcasts at times,
Mhm.
or working at my bench, and I've got podcasts going through my, and I'm not trying to look at something. So,
Mm-hmm.
but you've had a handful of great guests, Jake, James,
Yeah. Jake and James.
a bunch of other people too. Is there some memorable, or what was your favorite?
My favorite. Oh man, probably my favorite was Banjo Lively Tin Man, Christopher Davis Shannon. He's from Pennsylvania, from Philadelphia. He plays upright bass and ukulele. A lot of like old timey dance music, and it was just a fun conversation. And he's also a performer and a teacher. I interviewed him at the Allegheny Ukulele Soiree, which is a workshop in Altoona, Pennsylvania, and it was just a lot of fun because we have so much in common, and that's kind of like exactly what I want my podcast to be. And I like listening back to podcasts like that, where it's just teachers and players just, you
Having
know,
a good time.
like even with this podcast, it's mostly video, and you do miss a lot. But personally, I prefer to listen to the audio version. Like, you know, I love the stank face conversation. You miss a lot audio-wise, but still, it was like, it's very entertaining. And I love those types of conversations. It's not always about curriculum or, you know, how to get better. It's like, you know, players
No,
care about this
sometimes
stuff.
I just put on stuff like this to feel like I'm not alone. Like when you're working or something,
No.
it's like a conversation. It's like
I do the same thing. I think I listen to podcasts more than music,
Mm-hmm.
but it's for the same thing. You don't even have to necessarily see it, but you can still feel like you're
Mm-hmm.
a part of it or imagine it. But it's I like constantly picking things up too. So if you can like you said, like sometimes in the course of a conversation, you might pick up a couple little things that you wouldn't otherwise, or even if you're focused on watching something rather than listening to it, you might kind of pick something up different just in the course of what you're doing.
What are some of you guys' favorite non-ukulele podcasts? Do you have any?
I like Tim Ferriss's podcast a lot.
Okay.
Um,
I actually really love his how-to podcast information.
right?
Like he has this bag of podcast gear. I love
Yeah.
it when he goes through that.
I like some of his stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, I like comedians.
Mhm.
I'm usually listening to the comedians ones because it's just like I like to laugh at
Mhm.
stupid stuff. But like Radio Lab.
Oh yeah.
Like there's some real good quality podcasts that
Mm-hmm. Do you
really
listen to
do.
Heavyweight?
I haven't.
You'd probably love that.
Oh yeah.
It's really hard to explain, but this guy, I don't know. It's like people have regrets from their past, and this guy just takes the most hilarious way to help them solve it. So it's really heartwarming and just ridiculous at the same time.
Heavyweight.
Yeah,
Okay.
Heavyweight.
I'll have
They
to check
did
that
2
out.
seasons. They're kind of, I was reminded of it today because I haven't listened to it in so long because they come out in like 6 at a time or something like that. But if you like, Daily Show or any kind of like satirical, I said that word wrong, I think. I don't know. Satirical, analysis of things. It's
Yeah.
just like the way he delivers, it's like constant one-line jokes and just the way he interacts with people. It's just hilarious. I wish I could describe it better, but if you want something that's like meaningful and hilarious at the same time, that's a good one. And then usually I just listen to the news. 10-minute NPR podcast in the morning.
Yeah, I mean, other than that, I've been going back to music. I just put on Julian Lodge lately. Like I've been
nice.
listening to his last album just nonstop. Just so good.
He's incredible.
I know. I
I
love
don't even
his
understand how.
Spell it.
Julian Lodge, L-A-G-E.
L-A-G-E. Yeah.
I think it's
J-
E-N, Julian.
What was the album called?
Love Hurts was his last album, but all his albums are great. But
Yeah. Actually, you guys mentioned that, what is it? Mock Root?
Oh,
I've been listening to that.
Tigger and Hamasyan.
I heard you guys just mention it, and I was like, that sounds interesting. I've been listening to that.
it's fun to just like throw out stuff because certain people will
Yeah.
take off with it. It's fun.
Oh, man.
We've
I've been listening to
putting on-
Talisk recently.
Talisk. How do you spell that?
It's
Spell it?
T-A-L-I-S-K. It's a Celtic band.
Nice.
Concertina, violin, and
Ooh.
guitar.
Amen.
They're really like, if you like
Yeah.
really driving music
Yeah, I
and great
do.
melodies,
Yeah.
that's it. Pretty good stuff.
Shout
Check
out
it
to
out, Talisk.
Tobias.
Oh, yeah.
He's probably gonna want to.
I really like
Check
all
them
of
out.
like Snarky Puppy stuff and all the
yeah.
kind of like more edgier jazz influence, but like
Mhm.
rock still kind of stuff.
Hmm.
What's some of the other music that you're into?
Oh man, one of my most listened is the top 2 is Kate Rusby. She's an English folk singer, and the Kauai Boys.
Yeah. Class.
Oh yeah.
I was reflecting on that today. Like we listen to it a lot in my car, and my kids love it. I was telling them they're back on the mainland. We had to find we had to go to Makaha Beach just to take a picture because of the song. Because my sons love that song, but it's interesting how old it is, and like me listening to it now is like I'm catching up like so late because I didn't grow up with that music, but it's awesome, and I'm
Yeah.
trying to find more of that. But let's see, Kate Rusby, the Crater Boys. I like listening to, I think it's called post rock, so like this album, The Wilderness by Explosions in the Sky. It's just like rock,
know about that.
Oh, yeah.
orchestral rock
Yep.
with synths.
It's awesome.
That sounds
Good
interesting.
stuff.
Listen to
Yeah.
it when you're taking off in the plane. It's
Or
perfect.
do you know We Lost the Sea? We Lost the Sea is very
Oh,
good.
Man.
They just released an album, or they're releasing it. I'm not sure, but their previous album is pretty epic. They wrote 7 or 6 songs about people who died, but they died like pushing the human limits of like they wrote one about the Challenger explosion. Like people are doing great, amazing things, but it's also a terrible failure. They wrote one about the guys that went into Chernobyl, however you say
Yeah.
it, to turn off the reactor so that
Knowing they were
things wouldn't, things would have gotten worse.
oh man.
And it's the same thing. It's like just rock, pretty simple, no singing, and it just tells this story, and you just get lost in it. One of them's like 15 minutes long. It's just like, it's really epic.
I like instrumental music.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
But when you know the
probably-
story behind it too, that just adds a whole
Yeah,
like
it makes it more powerful.
dang.
Yeah, it puts those
I'm gonna check
thoughts
that
and
out.
images
Mhm.
in there.
I mean, that's totally different from like, the sound samples you guys do. But
Not really. I mean, it's all music, but it's like when you're doing an acoustic sound sample with an acoustic instrument, it's inherently not going to be like this like roarist rock epic type of a, you know, craziness.
Yeah.
It's going to be chill and nice, hopefully, you know, hopefully in tune. That sort of thing.
You always want to be in tune.
What kind of instruments are you playing?
Mostly, well, I actually have a Pono baritone that's very similar to this.
Oh, you do?
And I think I love it the most. Actually, Joel has it.
Oh, it's
You took
done.
it. No,
I put the pickup in it already.
Are you finished yet, Joel?
I did.
So
I
did you
finished
get
it.
it?
Awesome.
Did you get that from us or
Yeah,
who did you
well,
get it from?
I actually bought it from your dad.
Oh, cool.
It
So,
sounds awesome.
Nice.
He brought it into the shop the other day, but he has the Tomasics on it too, right? And then, but
What, the
sounds good.
C30 and
I think so.
27?
30, 27.
I think the ones it has now are actually like straight from
That's funny.
Brad's baritone site, Brad Bordessa.
Mm.
He's got
Oh,
like a
sick.
bunch of recommendations, and I like the smooth wound, and so I saw it's Thomas Stick and then Alvarez, I think. But yeah, that thing is amazing. So that's my favorite right now. What else? I had an octave mandolin, and then you guys posted this Pono with the blue, kind of like that one up there, but it was acacia, and I just had to have it, so I bought it on credit, and then I sold my octave mandolin, which I also loved, and I'm gonna get another one eventually. But yeah,
Oh, dude,
so
I had
that's
no
one of the
idea.
new ones.
You're a Pono player. That's killer.
I love Ponos. It's hard for me to like compare what my favorite is because I have a Kanilea and I like it also. It's completely different.
Yeah.
The neck is just like, and the weight.
And we carry and love Kanilea.
Yeah. So it's really hard. People ask me a lot, like, what do you like best?
It's just different.
Right now, I like Ponos. I don't know why. I can tell what the differences are. I do love my Kanilea too, and I love my Koaloha. I actually saved up my private lesson money for 2 years to get a Kiku from Jay Lichty.
Oh,
It's
cool.
like a
The
six-string.
ukulele deal.
Yeah. And it's got a flat top. It's pretty awesome. I didn't want to bring it on the plane with me, so it's back safe home. But yeah, this is probably almost just like this. It seems like this one is also like, what is this?
That's
Ebony?
ebony.
Ebony? Oh, okay. I was thinking this looks kind of like Brazilian rosewood, but I don't know if I've ever seen that up close.
Do you have a rosewood one?
Yeah, the baritone that I have is
Oh.
rosewood, but it looks different from this. I don't know what
Yeah.
kind of rosewood, maybe Indian or something.
Indonesian, yeah.
Okay, Indonesian and a
And actually,
spruce.
people think that the Indonesian is the same species as the Brazilian, but it transplanted over there, and it's not the same soil. It's not the same, you know. I mean, but it's actually like a
lost
spawn
brother.
of, yeah, exactly.
It's like koa. Right?
You know how like some acacias look closer to Hawaiian koa than others? It's kind of like it's just a
It's
little
African
closer
blackwood.
cousin.
Okay.
I mean, not African blackwood,
Australian.
Australian blackwood.
Yeah.
It's like identical.
Some of them, right? It'd be hard to tell if you didn't
Like
know. but
those
the
Barren
latest
River.
from Barren River, yeah.
That was beautiful.
But yeah, I mean, I was just talking to them about that because, you know, it sucks because, like, they were supposed to take the rosewood ban off coming up this year, and then the meeting got postponed, and now they don't know. But I hope they can bring those rosewoods back at some point in the Pono line because those always sounded great, you know.
Yeah.
So, is this your first time to Hawaii?
This is my second time. I came when I was maybe 12 or 11. My grandparents used to live here in Honolulu, and we just visited for Christmas. I visited with my sisters. I don't know. I don't remember exactly what we did. I know we went to the North Shore. We had lunch at Turtle Bay, and we went to Hanauma Bay. I just remember kind of being like led around, and it was really nice to not like have to pay for anything, you know. But it's nice being back this time, and I rented a car, so my wife and I have just been driving all over the place, and I just like looking at the mountains and just like, this is so nice.
Awesome.
Yeah, the mountains are almost as nice as looking at the ocean
Yeah.
sometimes.
Yeah.
It is.
It's-
Like you drive like half an hour, 45 minutes, and then the
Mhm.
whole scenery changes
Yeah,
drastically.
it's wild.
Yeah.
I
One thing
actually-
about Hawaii is that you can only drive in circles.
That's true.
That's about it.
It's true. I mean,
Yeah.
it's kind of cool. You could just hop to another island. It's not that
Yeah,
expensive.
you could.
You know, going to Connecticut is like ridiculous. It's like $1,000, but I went to Kauai for like 150 or something. So
Nice.
Yeah.
yeah,
I have no excuses not to go. I've still
it's
never
it's
been.
pretty awesome.
20 something years.
Take a break.
You should go.
I mean, it's easier with a car.
Yeah.
The car was like 90 or something to rent it for the day.
I got friends
like,
over there.
I
Just
need it.
ask 'em, but
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking like, you know, Aldrine's gonna meet me up, but I don't want to have him drive me everywhere.
Yeah.
'Cause I knew I wanted to go see the canyon, so it's like I'm just gonna do it. So
I
yeah,
lived
it's
in
worth it.
kind of near Kapa'a area for about 7 or 8 months
Mm-hmm.
with my sister. It was fun. I mean, it's so beautiful. Kauai is gorgeous. Like,
It's
you
my
know,
favorite island.
it's like the hike we did over in the east side.
in Kaava.
It's like a lot of that. Like
Mm.
just a lot of just gorgeous jutting mountains and
Yeah.
more waterfalls than any other island.
It's
and
the
all that.
Garden Isle.
It's like, yep.
Yeah. It's one of the most wettest places on earth.
Yeah.
Someone brought up the super ferry the other day, and it just made me angry.
Because we can't
like-
use it.
Oh, it would
one?
be so convenient
Yeah.
to bring your own car. And
Isn't there one ferry, like to Lanai or something?
From Maui
Oh
Lemonade.
yeah.
Oh, okay.
I've taken that before.
Not
It's
that
pretty-
that's that useful to you, but
Oh yeah. Well, it was because it was with whale migration, right?
There's a
That was
bunch of-
part of it.
It's all politics.
I mean,
It's got to be more politics.
I think
They
if they
can't be
hit-
migrating all the
I
time.
think it might be a little bit politics, a little bit pollution.
a little
they're
bit,
A little bit of
they didn't do
everything.
a little bit of the airlines.
You guys can just do it by canoe. Like that.
Whoa, Joe, you can't say that.
What?
Nothing. But
I know we're on our way to getting the Hawaiian Airlines sponsorship. too.
They already
Screwed
sponsored.
up.
Southwest has been sponsoring me to speak out against Hawaiian Airlines.
Oh,
So look out.
I don't mind getting sponsored by Hawaiian Airlines.
how are those
be
deals on
honest.
Southwest right now?
Pretty awesome. A lot better than Hawaiian
I
Airlines.
know, right? They got
Yep.
the monopoly for how many years now?
I'll tell you
Like-
what, they've been pulling the wool over everyone's eyes. Finally,
They
I
don't
don't
even
need to say
have any
anything
ukulele site ads in their magazine.
they
garbage.
took Aloha away.
right?
That's what they did.
I'm pretty sure it's Southwest is gonna take all of Hawaiian Air's business by this time next year.
Wow. Well, I know I never liked flying on Southwest because it's like everybody go get on the plane now.
I took
There's
I
no
only
seating
took one
assignments.
Southwest
I'm
flight.
just joking. I don't even have a
I,
dog in the fight at
I
all.
did. I have a dog. It was from San Francisco to Vegas, and it was
Yeah, I'm trying to. I try to fly Hawaiian as much as I can, but Hawaiian doesn't go where I need to go, like in Asia or
I
international.
don't think there's any point in having any allegiance at this point. It's
Yeah.
like we got to get.
But they let me
places.
take my ukulele on the
Oh,
plane.
I
No
guess so,
problems
in that case.
whatsoever.
Have you had problems getting on
No.
flights with air?
Never. I don't know if I've been on Southwest with one. Let's see. I've been on United and Air Canada, and Hawaiian.
I've
think
never
that's
had a problem either.
I think that's about it.
But you guys probably, like Corey and Calais, probably have more experiences to pull off of. But is there a certain airline that you guys would say is unfriendly to ukulele?
I've never had a big
Korean Air.
problem.
No, I'm just joking.
Well, actually, a lot of the
you got
airlines
emotional
in-
baggage.
It was just that one time.
Korean Air tried to make me check it in, but then
They were like, "No, that's not an instrument. That's a regular suitcase." And I was like, "No, look, these are instruments."
Yeah.
And they're like, "Oh, okay."
but it's really
What's-
strange
what-
though,
What's with that look?
because like
That
you can
buddies.
fight with them, they'll let you on, and but
I mean, I don't want to fight.
no, I'm
I know,
I'm
I'm
saying
just
like
joking.
stand your ground.
Yeah, yeah.
But there's one airlines I don't want to fly because I don't know. I have friends that work for it for
'cause
that
they break
airline, so I don't want to
instruments.
like say anything about what it is. But
But
I
did
do.
they do something that? I mean, obviously they did. If you're not going to name their name, you might as well tell us why.
Let's just say I'll just flat out and say it. Like ever since United changed some of their policies, with you having to pay for the overhead.
what?
And, yeah. And I'm like, well, if you're gonna if I run into an issue with bringing my instrument on board, and then I gotta pay to rent the overhead, why would I fly?
What can
with
you
that?
bring if you have to pay for everything?
I don't know.
Can you? Do you have to rent the?
You
under
gotta
the
rent
seat?
it underneath the seat, maybe.
This is actually the first
I don't
time
know.
I've checked my. I brought 2 ooks, and I have a Calton case, and I checked that. It's the first time I actually checked it, and it was fine. But I was surprised I had to pay to check one bag. 30
Really?
bucks on
35.
Hawaiian.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
It's like, I don't get one bag. Come on.
Oh yeah, that's
It's
right.
like, how much
just
stuff
for
do they
an outer
expect?
island flight?
Hmm?
That was just an outer island flight.
Yeah, that was from Connecticut to here. So
Oh, okay.
yeah,
So you flew Hawaiian from Connecticut to here?
Mhm.
Okay.
it sounds like that's normal.
Yeah, I guess so.
But you get the free punch at the end, right?
Ugh.
The
Yeah,
rum punch.
little. I don't know what you call it.
And the
All right, you
microwave
guys have to
meal.
endure this much. Here's some alcohol. There you go.
Yeah, you have
know.
the
Take
seat
it or
next to
leave
the
it.
back, and then they just give
Yeah.
you whatever's left over. Before
You know what's funny? The last time I flew Hawaiian Air, I was talking to the flight attendant and asking her about this stuff, and she was like, "These burritos are really bad, but I mean they're not bad, but they just don't taste good. I mean," and she was like, kept trying to word it like, just. And then she was like, finally, she was so nice. She was like, you know what? Let me just bring you one before you pay for it and just taste it.
Mm-hmm.
And I tasted it and it was bad. I mean, it just tasted bad. It didn't taste like rotten or poisonous, or it just tasted like, oh, this is just not good flavoring even, or what? I don't know. It tasted like this blandest chicken with like some kind of like a spaghetti sauce put in there a little bit, or I don't know. It was bad. So I was
Yeah.
like, I thought that was really cool of her though. I was like, thank you so much. I was about to spend $10 on this thing, and I'm the type that would have just been like, okay, well, learn your lesson.
Yeah.
But
Speaking
good
of
call, lady.
I'm gonna learn
That
my
wasn't good at all. Don't get that chicken burrito thing that you can order for $10. Ooh.
speaking of food,
It might have
when we-
21 grams of protein, but it tastes like I don't
Some
want
80
it.
grams of sadness.
Yuck. When we got here, they gave us for breakfast like a, I don't know, what do you call it? Ciabatta bread with like, I don't know, like crumbly cheese and then just like random peppers and eggplants. And I was thinking, what kind of sandwich is this? Is this a Hawaiian thing?
The
It's
confused.
like, there was no
Confusing.
protein in it. And I was
Yeah.
like, I don't know what this is supposed to be.
what
Nope,
culture
there's not
is
even-
this?
One time,
There's not even eggs.
Who made
Ciabatta,
this?
dude, it's like you're just chewing the ciabatta. Like, man, this stuff is like.
But the wrapping says
it's like they
aloha.
microwave it.
It's pure aloha.
One time we had
Must be good.
we had a manapua,
Oh.
and it was a weird thing because it was wheat bread, and even the pilot was surprised. He was like, "On tonight's menu is a manapua." He started laughing, and everyone was like, "What?"
It probably would have tasted better if like 7-Eleven cooked the food.
It's the worst manapua I ever had. in my life.
Manapuas are always suspect, but
You don't know how long it was.
5,000 miles in the air. I don't know.
What are you going to do? Not eat?
I know. Go for
It's
it.
true.
Yeah.
Remember
But-
Airplane?
That's exactly
when they all
what I'm
got
gonna
sick.
That's a
Okay.
good movie.
So, you are here in Hawaii for the Ukulele Festival.
Mm-hmm.
What other sort of plans do you have to do while you're down here?
So I've also been just roaming around to try to interview as many people as possible.
Who have you
so
gotten?
far, I've talked to Paul Okami from Koloha.
nice.
I'm going to meet with Chris Kamaka tomorrow, and hopefully Sarah and Craig. But I've already interviewed them once on my podcast, so it's kind of like, they're alumni. So,
Old news.
but it'd be great to have them back, of course. I think I've had James Hill on my show 3 times, so it's kind of like, I don't want to tire him out, but
Probably my favorite player.
yeah, I think he's my favorite too. He's just ridiculous.
Is he here right now too? Because somebody told me he was, but
I'm not sure.
somebody said he was going to pop in on the festival. But yeah,
I don't know.
Oh man.
One of you knows.
I just mind my business. No, I think
Anyways,
it's
James.
Yeah.
I know you've done Abe's podcast 3 times, but I love you, man. Like I
We all
love
love you.
your
You
music.
you should do this one too. They do it
Just
with video,
saying.
so you know.
You do have a Ko'olau, and we're in the house of Ko'olau right
the
here.
House of Cola.
There's a lot. There's like a wall here. You can just just pick 'em up.
Downstairs, there's a room with all kinds of custom
That's
Ko'olau's.
where they come out.
Nice. It's where they're born.
Now, you know, James has been one of the most positive forces for the ukulele.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's inspired people that went on to inspire others, like by the dozens. So I do have a lot of respect for him. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, I think even like Corey and Calais
Oh,
here have been
yeah.
influenced by stuff
Oh,
he
yeah.
did.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
He's a
he was
genius.
like
Yeah.
was and still is one of our ukulele heroes.
Yeah,
Oh.
Incredible.
definitely.
But yeah, him and Jake. Is Jake playing the festival this year?
Yeah.
I mean, he
Yes,
usually
yeah.
does.
Yep.
This year, I think this year towards the end, you got Herbold Jr., Ty Money Gardner, Jake is playing.
You know what makes the
Stacked.
festival special, and hopefully Roy keeps doing it even after the 50-year mark. He's saying he's going to retire after the 50
Mhm.
after next year, but it's like Roy is so from the heart that he manages to get all the great guys to come out too. But like Jake is that same way, and like it just shines through during that event, even with like the acoustics outside are never as perfect as I want and stuff like that or whatever. But it's like, have you been to an ukulele? I guess not, but
I haven't
you're
been to
about
this one.
Yeah.
That's part of the reason why I wanted to come, because I also heard it might end. I wanted to come last year, but it just didn't work out. So I used part of my tax refund to come this time.
Wonderful.
Yeah, I'm really excited. It sounds very different from the festivals I've been to, but we'll see. I've been told it's a zoo.
Yeah,
And it's next to the zoo.
It's not
Literally.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like
Oh, yeah, that's
this is the first and oldest ukulele festival in the world.
Oh, nice.
It was the ukulele festival that inspired all the other ones
Mhm.
that we're all familiar with for them to do their own.
Nice.
And so, yeah, this is pretty much where it started. So there is something really special about it, just aside from it being really big and a lot of
Mhm.
people fly in. So,
Yeah.
A legacy.
yeah.
So then tomorrow I'm gonna meet with actually Jody Kamisato
Oh, great.
and
Awesome.
in Honoka,
Yeah.
and then today I was on.
Does he still have ukulele hale?
Yep.
Yeah, and then
It's growing too.
yeah,
I want to get him in here too. Let's get Jody.
That'd be
Yeah.
fun. Yeah.
I'll tell him
That'll be
tomorrow
easy.
when I see him. Like,
He's-
yo, go.
he-
go to-
yeah, I mean, he used to work for Pua Pua, so like we knew him from back in the day because he would come pick up from like when I actually built with Ko'olau, I knew Jody. He would come and pick up Ko'olaus from us for
That's like
Ken and all. Yeah, that's
some time ago.
that's some back in the dayness right there.
Was
But
that
you
one
know what
song?
is crazy
Heaven
with
on a
Jody is
Sunday?
like he never ages. He still looks the same age. Like jeez.
It does. Yeah.
One day he'll just
Forever
be
young.
old all of a sudden. It's like, whoa. He went from like 24 to like 70 all at once. No, but he still does look youthful.
Mhm. He
And
runs
he-
a lot.
Does he?
Yeah.
Mm. Is that what
No,
I
you-
I know
don't,
the
I don't know
secret.
how he does it, but it seems like he shares his runs on Instagram stories. Like, I don't know. Or maybe he's just walking and he speeds it up. I'm not sure what he does.
Palmer's out here, guys.
It talks in slow motion.
But let's see, who else? Well, today, of course, I was on the Ukulele Underground podcast, so that was great. Yesterday, I interviewed Dr. Byron Yasui.
Is that the Ook town? Is that
No,
the
Ukulele Underground.
There's another one. There's Oaktown Heroes, and then I think it's just
Oh,
Ukulele
yeah,
Underground.
K-Town Heroes.
What is Ukulele Underground?
Ukulele Underground. Well, they do this Thursday live lesson. It's like they get all their Ukulele Underground members, and then they just send in questions, and then for an hour they just answer the questions. Like today, we talked about major 7 chords, and like pain in the thumb, and then we go off topic, of course, which is fun, and it's just an hour, and then they take the audio and put it into a podcast. So.
Nice.
I found it in my app. I usually use Pocket Casts. It does not find it, so I have to go to either Apple Podcasts or Overcast or something else, and it's just Ukulele Underground podcast. But you can still find, like Joel was saying, like K-Town Heroes comes up sometimes, which is really old. But it's, I don't know, somehow it's like linked to it incorrectly sometimes. But, yeah.
Some weird stuff that happens on the Apple Podcast app.
What's the app you use?
The one I
Pocket
use,
Podcast?
Pocket Casts.
Pocket Cast.
That's the one I use most often.
Why do you like that one?
I like it because it syncs my playing with my computer. Sometimes I listen on my computer. Yeah, and then I've just gotten used to the way it gets laid out and how you can put your episodes in a queue.
Mm-hmm.
And then sometimes I go to Overcast because it has this pause feature where if someone's talking, when you pause, it rewinds it to like silence, so it helps you get back into the conversation if you pause it in the middle of a word, which is pretty cool.
That's cool.
That's Overcast. And then I like Radio Public because if people listen to my podcast on it, I get paid. It's only like 2 cents. It's nothing. But yeah, podcast apps are very personal, so it's like telling people to listen with a certain podcast app is kind of tough.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
But I like
I
Pocket
thought I
Cast
was into
also. There's another
podcasts, but
feature.
I don't think I'm like I'm really.
You gotta get into this.
I'm not deep into it. Like,
Well, the main
there's
thing
podcasts
is
you listen
don't
to.
use Apple Podcasts because it sucks.
Really?
When you realize what
bad.
you can do with the other ones, like I have filters for like, ukulele only podcasts. It's just a big playlist. If I just want to, go crazy on, or there's the Smart Speed, where I'm not sure which ones have it, but it'll actually speed up the episodes just a tiny bit at a time when there's pauses or long silences, so you actually save time listening. Or you can
quick
speed
cuts.
it up and save it for podcasts. Like if you think I talk slowly in my podcast, you can set it to 1.5,
I know.
and just for that
Yeah.
podcast, you can skip intros.
Because it
things
is
like
kind
that.
of unique to the individual, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've heard of people that listen 3x speed, and it's like, what the heck? I don't even know. I can't understand that.
Yeah. But there's people that read books that way too.
Mhm.
Just like, really? You
Speed
read that
reading.
whole book last night?
I think I maxed out at 1.5 for audiobooks and stuff.
Yeah.
Anything past that, the pacing just feels weird.
I feel like I can't space out at all, though.
No, it's only for information stuff that I know I'm gonna re-listen to this book 3 times to
Okay.
really absorb it. Like I'll do 1, then
I don't
Ah, yeah, that
digest
makes
stuff
1.2,
unless I
1.5.
think about it in between. Like there's all
Mhm.
kinds of thoughts going on in between. If I have to just take in this information, I don't know. I can't handle
Especially
that.
if you're washing dishes or something.
Yeah, no,
I can't focus
forget about it.
100% on.
Yeah, I'm not trying to get all ambitious with my podcast.
Yeah.
Do you do
Life's
anything
hard enough.
like do you plan out like if you're going to interview somebody, like the questions you're going to ask, or is there
Yeah,
somewhere
tell
you
me how
look
to
to
do
kind of
that.
reference like where you pull what you're going to ask? Like, because I know like we said, like Tim Ferriss, like he has his, there's like that
He's got a method.
yeah, there's like that Tribe of Mentors book and everything. Like he
Mhm.
has his set questions. Like there's like a pool of like 15 base questions maybe, and then you kind of pull from some than others to kind of use as a catalyst maybe
Mhm.
to open up more questions and everything. But
Yeah.
do you approach it anyway?
Usually I start with okay. In general, I'll research the subject or whatever. I read as much as I can about them. So, for example, for Dr. Yasui, it was perfect because the Ukulele magazine article came out on him. So it was great, but also it's kind of like I have no questions. You answered everything, but that's the point that I want to start with, because I don't want to always ask questions that get answered a lot by people. It's kind of inevitable that, like, tell me your story, and then they give you this speech that you can
spiel.
tell is rehearsed. But so I'll find out as much as I can about them, and then I just see what interests me, and I'll write a rough list of like, what do I want to know? I want to ask about this and this and this and this, and I usually get maybe 10 questions, and then I'll start to just come up with random stuff like, silly questions like, who's your favorite player? What kind of player do you hate? Or something like that. What student bugs you the most? Silly questions like Jake or James, which one's, Sarah or Craig, which one's,
You can only pick one.
Just to be silly. And then when I talk to the person, I just try to really focus on what they're saying. And then if I feel like there's something that's really interesting to them, I kind of just let them go with it. Because generally, if someone's passionate about something, they'll just talk and talk and talk. And it's more interesting. Unless it gets kind of rambly, then I don't know what to do. Because I edit the audio, if people mess up, they can just start over. And I just cut it. And with audio, it's very easy to make it seem like there were no mistakes. Sorry. It's okay. No problem.
It's the third podcast of the night. His batteries are dying.
I am no stranger to tech problems. I've been the AV guy wherever I go because I know how to turn on a camera. I mean, I did it in college, and I think I'm pretty good with sound.
But you work at a school where everybody tries to play stupid when something
Exactly.
It's like, hey, you know how to put the yellow in the yellow,
It's a
right?
PA system. Just plug it in.
And turn it on.
Yeah, exactly. So where was I?
It's kind of following the leader, right? Like if there's something that pops out that interests you, it's easier to talk about it because it's interesting to you. And then a lot of times that can just be the catalyst for like a deeper discussion and something that might otherwise not come up because you said, you asked
it's hard to
somebody,
tell
like,
where the
where did you
rambling
grow up? What are you into?
starts though.
I find that a lot of rambling is good, but it has to be kind of like has to be natural. Like it can't just be aimless, you know, like if you
There's
let
that
someone
point
talk,
where you're saying something and you're like, well, I don't even know what I'm talking about.
yeah. I've had moments like that, and I'll just stop and I'll just start over with something else, because if I'm interviewing them, it's my job to I don't want to make them work any more than they have to. They're sitting there, I have to keep their face close to the mic. Sometimes people just like, is this good?
They're
Can you get
floating
closer?
around.
Okay, no, get closer. Okay, is this good? And it's like. So I have to be creative with that. But in terms of like the questions, sometimes I only get to 3 out of 10, and that's okay. Because I go off on a lot of little side
keep
tangents.
to that half hour.
Yeah, I try to. Usually it's 30 to 40 minutes, and like I said, it's mostly just because as a listener, that's what I prefer. Sometimes I have to like really push because I feel like a conversation is kind of dry and boring. But then I get a lot of good feedback from listeners about it, and so I'm like, okay, well, I guess I did something right. And I think
It's
it comes down to
interesting,
just focusing on that person and what they're saying, and like trying to keep it relevant. And I'm always trying to remember, like, as a teacher and a player, what do I care about this person, about what they're saying? So sometimes it's kind of stressful. Like if I do a long, then I get like headaches. And then it's like, okay, I need to just prepare.
So how bad are we doing?
Oh, you guys are doing great.
It's so hard to tell, but it's like people have to kind of be listening, not captivated in the same way like some Netflix series is gonna be or whatever. Right?
Yeah.
It's like, people that are interested in ukes and it's we're discussing things around that.
Yeah. I'm always either 1 or 2 people. Like it's usually never more than 3, including myself. So I don't know. I think it's like with this, if you're worried about rambling, it's kind of natural with a lot of people. But I don't know. I've recorded one, what do you call it? Like an ook forum where people were on stage and they're answering questions from a crowd. And that was kind of interesting. I
was thinking about doing this format, but in
Yeah.
a live YouTube kind of thing.
Yeah, you can
where
do that.
we can then, okay, so and
see
so
the
is wondering.
questions. That's
Yeah.
pretty much what Ukulele Underground does.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so sometimes they don't have enough questions. Sometimes they have a lot of questions. When they don't have enough questions, then they have a lot of time to just keep going and talking about random things. They keep it strict to an hour. Somehow that's just what their schedule is. I'm not sure why, but it works good for the podcast, too.
I think we could almost do that as a second podcast, beyond whatever the weekly scheduled guest or whatever. Just put on the live chat thing, and we'll just ramble if you guys aren't going to ask. But if they're going to ask questions, then we'll answer them, right?
Yeah.
It seems just
Yeah,
easy.
as long as it's not the same question every week.
Oh.
Check the
High G or low G?
low F.
Ooh.
High C or regular C?
Both.
I see it was very delicious.
It wasn't.
I thought it was. When
But
I
it
was younger.
wasn't. You thought it was, but it wasn't.
I gotta try it again. I have no reference.
No,
It's
you
been years.
It's all right.
Oh, so anyway, I don't know if I finished the question, but
Sorry.
after I do the actual interview, then I edit it and I try to make it sound good. I don't take out all the ums and everything. I take out weird sounds. Sometimes people like click with their mouth, or I'll do like a, something like that, and it sounds really gross to
I
my
bet
ears.
people are grossed out on all kinds of sounds we make, but
Well,
But
Somebody
if you go
commented
back to
on-
some earlier episodes, me and Corey really got into ASMR for a while.
Oh, see, people enjoy that.
Maybe you took it out.
but yeah, I don't put any of that in there. I try to make the conversation just, I keep the tracks separate, and I
yeah,
you're
trying to do
try
a
to make it
legit
sound like a nice
professional thing,
conversation,
yeah.
and then I bookend it with myself talking in the beginning, saying, "Hey, this is my podcast station, listen to my stuff,"
Nice, yeah.
and then I put it into the episode. I've been lucky that I haven't had any catastrophic audio like interruptions. There's a few times where like I don't know if you heard about my Brian Tolentino episode. I recorded an interview with Brian Tolentino, and I didn't record myself. So I got him talking to me. So later I had to narrate myself.
Isn't that fun when you get
Wow.
back and you're like,
I
what?
asked him this question, and then
Yeah.
back to the room. But it worked out really well.
What was that like though? Were you like at first you must have been like,
I was
this
so
is
stressed
total
out.
trash.
Yeah.
This is
I
this.
thought
I just
I-
ruined this. And oh man, I'm gonna have to somehow put in.
Yeah.
Okay, I asked him this question. Now here's his. So what did
Well,
you do?
I was
Did you
really
release
stressed,
it?
but luckily, I don't think it was too bad. Like I wasn't that stressed because I tend to study a lot about how to podcast well. Most of it, like NPR has great resources, or transom.org, and they talk about storytelling more. A lot of podcasts, what they do is just that. Like they'll have a narrator and then they'll cut to a scene, right?
Yeah.
Like in the kitchen or somewhere
Radio
else.
Lab.
So I figured maybe I can just do this like that. And so that's kind of how I got to
You know
there.
how Radio Lab picks up all of the little almost ASMR style things too,
Mhm.
though. But like,
Just ambient
there's a
noises.
YouTuber named Dan Mace that he's been doing this seed thing where like if you have an idea in your country wherever you are, to put it out, and then he's gonna come help you complete it. But he went to India this last week for his YouTube channel, and he did the same thing he did in New York that I saw before, which is this whole you take in a city by its sounds. And so it's like the whole video was like just cut to a sound here and cut to a sound there, and it was just it's amazing. But his name is Dan Mace, and I really like his YouTube channel and like what he's doing and stuff. So you guys should check that out. But there is something to that style of storytelling, even from the audio aspects, right? The
Yeah.
whole thing, like that's what Radio Lab really kind of cued me into too.
Yeah.
Like all of those little sounds that they have going, like that's
It's
part
like
of
they paint a story.
Yeah, it feels more like a little art piece. Maybe they'll throw in little. Then they have somebody
Yeah.
in house doing those little like loop tracks and everything to make
all
their
the
own
sound
little.
effects, all the I mean, but it is telling a story,
Yeah.
But you're listening with your ears. If it's a podcast, straight audio, that's what you're telling the story through.
Yeah, I think it'd
Audio.
be cool to do that, but I don't know how it would work with ukulele.
It's something I think that's like just takes a lot of time I mean, if you look at the whole crew of like who makes each episode, like listen to the end of each Radio Lab episode. This episode was brought to you by and this string of long
A lot of
engineers
people,
and people
yeah.
that are just spending all their time doing this. Meanwhile, this is like the end of our day.
We show up and
this
then
is
Andrew stays up
after
all
our
night.
workday. This is beyond what actually.
Do you edit
pays
this
the bill.
after?
Right after.
And
Right
she will
after?
not
Right
be
after.
sleeping tonight.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I can't.
By
Actually, I
Saturday,
can
it's
kind of
normally
relate
up.
because when
I'll edit
I
tomorrow.
when I edit the audio, like I'll usually take like an hour at a time and do what I can to chop up the audio, like just rough cuts. And then when I decide like, okay, I really need it to be out tomorrow or whatever, then I'll spend like 5 hours or something. And then I'll, finish the raw audio and then I'll do the bookends. And usually that takes me the longest. Just the simple like 1 minute of me saying, this is my podcast. And
Because you got time to think about it.
yeah, it's like, I write it out too sometimes, and then I feel like it's too robotic.
It's like, obviously, I hate myself.
Yeah.
It's yeah. And I mean, for me, like when I listen back to the podcast now, it's like, I'm always thinking like, yeah, I would have cut that. I would have cut that there. Yeah, I would have cut that there. But in the end, I have to like call it a day. Within a few days of whatever I'm doing.
Yeah.
Just be like, all right, I kind of looked it over. I cut out some of the BS, and then I'm just gonna put it out there.
Well, I think it's great as it is.
Yeah. The same listeners that cue into us here, I think, can continue to expand upon their podcast, channels. So I'm glad that we were able to feature you here because,
Yeah, thank you.
I mean, you have some interviews with James and Jake and, Brian and
Even just when you've been listening to
Aldrine and
Just to even listen to a podcast with good sound quality. Like I put up with podcasts, especially like if you get into it, you're like, okay, I'm all the way caught up. Maybe I'll go listen to like the first episodes, and you're like, oh my gosh, this sounds horrible. It actually sounds really good. Like
his
that's
his
part of it.
podcast.
You're
yeah.
saying mine?
just
Yeah.
the overall
Thank
audio
you.
quality
Yeah,
is good.
yeah.
Yeah, it's like
No, you have
that's
a good
huge
voice,
part
but
of it
also
too.
like
That's what I strive for.
Yeah, I
So
mean,
it's good to hear.
it make if it's all audio, it's like it needs to be good audio.
I haven't had to do any like serious retakes yet. There was one problem once. It was like a huge thing, like where I didn't have a memory card or a battery, and that's always embarrassing. Because it's like I scheduled this meeting with this person, and I'm not even ready to record them. So it's like I look like a douche.
oh, like I did just now. It's like,
Oh,
Well, these
batteries
cameras are
dying.
like
It's
this is like I don't know. I feel like to monitor all these, you have to get paid or something because it's like running around constantly making sure all this stuff is charged. Oh, that's a lot of work. But it looks good though.
I mean,
final
that's
product.
The pay. It's just like when I get back home, just to make sure like everything was captured,
Mm-hmm.
and then I'm cool.
well, if
the
it's gonna
magic
be
is
out there forever, then I mean,
Yeah.
a little bit extra effort.
That thing
Yeah.
I said about that airline, they want to sponsor me now.
Oh
And
man, he's like, oh, someone reposted it. I can't even take it off anymore.
I don't care about any of that.
well, with Vimeo, you can
yeah, you can change,
upload a new video
yeah,
file
onto your
and
I like
save the link.
Vimeo is much more friendly to the creator than YouTube.
Yeah.
I mean, and I don't even try to I don't even care about like whatever revenue comes from YouTube, but it's just more about reaching people. Just more people go on YouTube,
Yeah.
But yeah, that's one of the features I really like about Vimeo, because there's been times I put stuff up on YouTube where I just want to put up a slight variation of it right after, but there's been already 1,000 views or comments. It's like, I just wanted to like take out the last 7 seconds or whatever. It's just like, you can't do that.
Can't you,
can
do like
on
a better
Vimeo.
quality or something too
What's
on
that?
Vimeo? Is the quality different or anything?
It was for
Or
a
it
little
used to
while,
be,
but I
right?
think YouTube.
I think
started
they
to
pretend like it
update
is.
there. Yeah, I don't
I
know.
don't
I
think
didn't
it
know.
is.
I thought they were
There's-
trying to give some selling point.
There's some levels of compression going on
Yeah.
all of them, but and then beyond that, whatever you're watching on matters too, or like the quality that you're.
Yeah.
Sometimes it frustrates me. It's like I put this stuff up, people are watching it at like 360p. Or even the audio quality
even
is
see
affected
fingers
too
at
by
that?
HD.
It's just sticks.
They have an option of like 240p too, right?
I've seen that.
It's like for
240p double time because I don't have.
But if your internet's really bad, that's what you go for, right? It's like you're not gonna try to wait for HD so you can see Corey's pores more clearly.
and all my sweat.
do a pitch shift an octave lower. Finally, get some low end on that. You
Another thing I do actually is I listen to the whole podcast as soon as I post it, and so far I've caught one like huge issue, and I fixed it immediately, and I could re-upload it. So that was nice.
What was that? What do you mean?
It was like so in non-destructive editing, audio editing.
You mean in terms of uploading?
Yeah, uploading
I've had that
it. So
happen too.
I had a certain file just moved somehow accidentally. So like 5 minutes of it was gone.
Yeah.
And then I just went back in and I moved it back. I was like, oh, okay, I found it.
Yeah, you have to listen back. You have to
Yeah.
look at what they put up. Like there's been
Mhm.
times where I uploaded to YouTube and then I'll look back and it's like glitchy.
Mhm.
It's like not like that on the original video. It's just something happened at the time of upload
Mhm.
that made those certain
Yeah.
frames glitch out.
Yeah, I hate that. Sometimes when I take video files off SD cards, it does that too. Where there'll be like the rainbow, whatever, I don't know, the flashes of
Right,
random
right.
things. And it's like, I just downloaded this from the SD card. I watch it on the camera and it's fine. I was like, where does this come from?
All these people listening to us don't even know about these woes.
We're talking about
that-
cameras, video cameras in an ukulele podcast. It's important.
Yeah, right.
How to record a YouTube video. You need lights. You need cameras. I've always wanted to know why. This bugs me as an audio guy. Why does this not have a shock mount?
Why? Oh,
And
versus
this
that
does.
one?
Is this one more important?
Well, what
The
you don't
shotgun mics, but
understand,
whatever.
Abe, is what you want is a top over the left with a shock mount. You don't want the shock mount on the more forward-facing treble side. Don't question me.
Everybody knows that owls have asymmetrical ear canals. So
I didn't know that. I know they can turn their heads all the way around.
you knew a lot more than that.
Ooh, only after they're possessed.
What was it?
Owls? They can turn their
Yeah.
heads around?
Oh, I knew that,
yeah.
but Joel was like, "Oh, they can do a lot more than that." I was
So
like,
they can
what else
differentiate
can they do?
distance and height. So like
Can they
When the
tell
waves come
what
back.
size the ukulele is from 20 feet?
I think they can for sure.
Okay.
I think the speed that something comes back, which one comes back sooner, lets them know the height. So if the left comes back a little bit quicker, I don't know. So they know where to drop down and everything. But I think it distinguishes size too.
What if it's
What
a
about-
concert neck with a tenor bond?
Exactly.
Absolutely. No, I'm
Exactly.
on board.
That's
I
what I
got
was
it.
gonna say.
Yeah,
What if
they
it's a super
absolutely
soprano?
can.
Do you know super
I am
soprano
gonna
versus a regular soprano?
I am gonna say.
What if it's a
Because that's quite a
baritone
big
neck?
difference.
Say it
with
was
the
a T2
sopranissimo?
Koaloha. They're gonna know that, of course. Tenor neck, soprano
You never
body,
know.
obvious.
It could be the Noah body with the tenor neck. on
What
it.
about a
Baritone
scepter
body,
body?
soprano neck.
Noah body
about separate
bear
body?
The Koaloha Noah, remember
Mm.
that mini?
Oh yeah, this mini
But
soprano.
then like that with a tenor neck on it.
Nah, that with a baritone neck, or that with a kiku neck.
Double bass
Yeah.
neck.
What about a baritone
Yeah.
body with a
It's
soprano
kind of like
neck?
a Durango. What is it called?
Yeah, it's a Dodge Durango.
Durango Doritos. Yeah, we're hungry.
Absolutely.
So, tell people how to keep in touch with you.
Thank you. Yeah. To follow me, just go to ukpodcast.com. It's pretty simple. Yeah, Abe's Ukulele Podcast. I did not come up with anything creative for that.
No,
if you-
I like names that just say what they are.
yeah.
But anyways, yeah, I love what you're doing, Abe.
Thank you. I love what you're doing. Yeah. So ukpodcast.com. And then if you want to listen to my music, it's ukuleleabe.com. That's
So-
the other thing I do, but the most successful thing I've done so far is my podcast. So,
And Abe is it's like Abe, right? ABE. So if anyone's trying to spell
oh yeah,
it, you're trying
Abe.
to
I
figure
mean,
out what Abe is.
how else do you spell Abe? I've never
Yeah,
seen
I
any
don't
other
know.
way.
People get creative, man.
That's true.
See, people
I mean,
add about 7 extra letters to things.
I've had people misspell Abe.
B.
When I like order drinks, they're like
E.
Gabe.
AYBEH.
Gabe.
Do you correct them? It's
Yeah.
Abe.
Yeah. Well, I have to do that now because too many times it's like Abe and they're like ABE. Oh, okay. But when I say Abe, then that kind of it piques their curiosity. It's not like a
You're
how
like,
do you
oh.
spell it? It's more like a oh, I never heard that before.
Oh, you're not just another Abraham.
Yeah, exactly.
That song is like
Yeah. Okay.
Esperanza, the guy trying to make a universal language. That's that song. It's the universal language.
Oh yeah. Oh, wrong again, guys. Somebody once told me the world's going. The sharpest to the shed. She was looking kinda
of the swingers, oh, the jungle VIP. I reached the top and I had to stop, and that's what's bothering me. I wanna be a man cub, and stroll right into town, and be just like the other men. I'm tired of monkeying around. Oh, Bidoo, I wanna be like you. I wanna walk like you, talk like you too. You see it's true, ape like me can learn to be human too. So long. Now, come on, man cub, tell me what to do. Give me the power of man's red flowers so I can be like you. So clue me in, man cub, come on, tell me what to do. What I desire is man's red fire to make my dreams come true. Oh, Bidoo, I wanna be like you. I wanna walk like you, talk like you too. You see it's true, an ape like me can learn to be human too.
Sorry, I was playing the wrong chord.
Sounded good to me.
Okay.
A minor, E7.
Was
Is
it?
that what you're talking about?
No, from C.
C to A7. And then D7.
I was actually playing. Yeah.
I think it worked.
E7 instead of A7.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that works.
Damn it, chord.
Nice.
That's fun, man.
It was an honor to play with you guys.
Oh,
That was dope,
That was
though.
fun. I love that.
Thank you. That was dope, man.
Oh, thank you.
I love what you do. That was fun.